What's good, YouTube and Twitch? We are live streaming right now to both, and some really interesting video ideas have been coming up during these streams. And with the advent of Reigns Pack 2, whether we get the cards in a timely manner or not, I'm missing 6 right now, we will be getting different imported link monsters for different archetypes and generic types. Some are in the guise of an archetype, right? Like Isolde, but it becomes generic warrior support. So these are the top kind of 20 in no specific order archetypes we'd like to see the chat and me have link monsters for them. And the number 20 slot is no doubt Super Quantiles definitely need some kind of link monster in their life to bring them back to the forefront of Yu-Gi-Oh! It really only had its impact in terms of being a known deck with, I believe it was actually Calvin Tahan over at an ARG taking down a finals in the past. But definitely something I'd like to see more of, and the Power Rangers coming back to Yu-Gi-Oh! And they need something that helps them summon out the cards, perhaps from deck. More of a specific here rather than going for the machine typing, and definitely something I'd like to see more in Yu-Gi-Oh! But next we have a couple tubers here in the chat, and in the number 19 slot, GCD is going to take away Raid Raptors.
Howdy. Raid Raptors, there's a very simple reason as to why I believe they should get themselves a link monster. And it's because in their old playstyle of spamming out like triple force tricks, that's just impossible now. Link monsters, while they do enable quite a few extra monster zone summons, Raid Raptors are basically locked into Raid Raptors only with one of their best cards, Fuzzy Lanius. And unless they get a link monster that specifically has the Raid Raptor name on it, then they're going to be hurting real bad. Their playstyle right now is just hope I draw Lastrix and skip Force, which is, quite frankly, pathetic.
Would a kind of generic Wing Beast one help them out?
It would, but it would have to be good enough to support them dropping Fuzzy Lanius and really changing them. It would be like summon vanishing from the deck and get a card to your hand.
So something that's named Raid Raptor maybe has a generic Wing Beast support and then a specific Raid Raptor effect.
Sure, that would work really well for them.
Alright, and I'm going to take it away to our number 18 here with Curries, a deck that definitely had its time in the past and then mixed with Geargias later on. Very impactful in Yu-Gi-Oh! But has kind of just fallen way back. An engine that could be experimented with if they had more zones to play with, could end up back into Yu-Gi-Oh! I definitely like to see something from that far back, Stbl Ultra Rares coming back forward into the game. Something impactful enough to be in our collector tin. A deck that kind of found its way into extra normally, summoning into the field, turning into defense too. I found a lot of the mechanics that it just went through into the game very interesting, and I think Desmond Johnson, a popular duelist, also super enjoyed the deck. I personally would like to see it, and I know a lot of other duelists would too. Back to GCD with his passionate and one of my hates in the number 16 position, Flower Guardians.
Oh, yes, certainly. Flower Guardians are much of the same reason for Raid Raptors in that they also summon lock themselves into their own archetype. And while they're warriors and benefit greatly from Isolde, and they have some tools they could use with Needle Fiber, not really, they just need a Flower Guardian Link monster. Otherwise, it becomes so much difficult to get both Flower Guardian boss monsters on the field. And that's where the Flower Guardians really try them.
Don't the Guardians kind of lock themselves into only letting you summon Guardians?
That's right. You have cards like Willow and Polonia, and when you special summon themselves and get the most out of their effects, you're restricting yourself greatly from your end board, which is a great tragedy, and I would love if they just got something that opened up 2 spaces, was named a Flower Guardian, and it would just be beautiful.
And we kind of got one of their cards way too late, right?
Yes, Moonflower Viewing.
Yeah, and in our number 15 position, more of you guys are passionate about this. I'll let Dinnerflax and GCD kind of take this one away. Luna Lights. Apparently I have the wrong card on board, so put me at the stake. But you guys want to take away what Luna Lights need? Either of you?
You might want to talk to Selza.
Ooh, Belza?
Yeah, Luna Lights, they don't really do much of they just fusion summon all the time. So having like link zones for the Luna Lights to, spam out Leo Dancer just really nice. Like you can make like Underclock Taker or like the Dark Link Monster, but like it's not really doing much on the field besides like
so you would rather see something that gives you a resource back for its committed summon and then allows you to further fusion summon.
Yeah, right.
That's what it sounds like to me, just looking at game mechanics. In the number 14 position here, or I actually don't know what position we're in. I've lost track. It's not numbered. There's 20 cards here. Ghostrix here with the Angel of Mischief on the screen here. Something I really like about Ghostrix is their ability to play with face down, but they need to be able to break the link mechanic to move forward. And every single mechanic gets broken in some way, shape, or form where we bypass it in the game. Multiple normal summons per turn. So something I'd like to see is the introduction of a Ghostrix link that maybe is able to turn links down into face down attack position within the game. I mean, it's something we actually used to have with a Darkness Approaches back from MRL, perhaps implemented into this archetype where the link can start flipping itself down and then do something insane for the entire archetype. I know a lot of people that personally enjoy Ghostrix overall and like still play it to this day, and it was really, really hurt, but I see it once in a while in Dueling Book. I'll get stalled out by it if I don't have proper outs in my deck, depending on what I'm playing for a deck building challenge, so definitely something I'd like to see. Next up, we actually have Toons, and they need something very similar to like Spiral Double Helix level of brokenness, maybe Needle Fiber brokenness, to even turn into a semi-viable rogue deck. Like, they're just so close to almost being there in a sense of like, we have Toon Cyber Dragon, we can just go into Mega Fleet, we have this, we have that, like, They have so many ways to, like, spam into... I've seen Toon monsters go into, like, summon 2 7s. We're gonna make Tomahawk. We're gonna flood the field. And then, we kind of got nothing past that. I'm sorry. So I'd really like to see a Toon-specific, like, Link monster that helps you continue into whatever you're gonna do in terms of Link plays in the modern era. It's really something that got choked out in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And the number, I think this is the proper 13 position. Speedroids are a synchro summon spam deck that got heavily hurt by Link summoning being a thing, and even more so, of course, by Terratop itself disappearing to 1 on the FNL list, which is now at more in the OCG list, but I think Terratop kind of died for the sense of Invoker. And it's really a shame that an entire archetype that actually has some Link summoning mechanics out there, once you start using Machine Dupe, or you're able to synchro up this amazing tree with things like Crystal Wing, just got totally cut off by the mechanic in terms of being viable. And we actually saw this end up topping a really huge regional, a Speedroid deck, a while back before Master Rule 4, and I think a New York regional. So, like, it'd be cool to see the Speedroids get a little something something. And then in our number 12 position here, Predaplants. They actually just have this huge engine, and of course Scorpio Cobra is what gets abused the most. I'd like to see something in the modern era really go into the Predaplants and help them summon out their fusion monsters that do degenerate awesome things, and really see a pure Predaplant deck maybe top a regional or actually do something more as its engine. And I feel like, yeah, you're summoning Scorpio, you're summoning Cobra, we're going to turn these two into something and pop off. I'd like to see it more locked into its archetype than generic plant support. Really make sure to lock this one down rather than give it too generic of effect, but make it busted within its own archetype, since you have the ability to summon monsters to field like that. Next up, we mentioned Karakuris. How about Geargias and actually get them out there? The biggest, most failed structure deck, basically, of all time, that's set at $5 forever until Double Summon's price eventually went up. Geargias really had it hard, and the new support just didn't come over the top. So I'd like to see something that properly gives Geargias, not generic machines, Geargias themselves, the ability to perhaps summon something from deck and then gain some other type of advantage, so that they can get going, and then maybe the ability to flip something face up as well. Like, good monsters these days need 3 effects, right? That's just what it takes. You see that wall of text on monsters. So Geargias definitely need something like that to bring them into the new age. And in our number 9 position, Dino Mist. This is a deck that's knocked me out of a YCS that I don't care to admit that it knocked me out of. But Dino Mist definitely are an interesting deck that kind of became Infinity Turbo in a lot of senses. But once they got their newer cards, they were able to play more around themselves. And almost, really in a hype moment, topped during Zodiac format. A Pendulum deck that's just kind of missing that one thing to go along with Electromite to break into the new age. Where Zephyr was able to, that's kind of like what Dino Mist need, is the ability to generate maybe negates, maybe the ability to generate like more advantage of downward link arrows so that you have more negates. You really need something in here that's not just Infinity, though, in order to be able to beat your opponents. Infinity and bounces is kind of what it has going for it. I'd like to see maybe, along with that link monster, some other kind of new support in a counter trap, and really set this up as a real control deck that has stuff going for it. And the number 8 position, Harpies, by far a fan favorite since Duelist Kingdom. The ladies who had jumpsuits put on them in the TCG. I think that this deck had multiple points that it was almost there. Just so close.
Yep.
So close. And I actually was a huge fan of using its Xyz monster in Yosenju's during the format where Cleese just couldn't actually do much to that Xyz and you'd be able to attack direct. But they're missing so much that I just don't know one Link monster would be able to fix it, even on like a needle fiber specific to its deck level. Like, you have to do a lot for this deck, but they are desperately needing something that allows them to get multiple Xyz out there, multiple different monsters. So it might need to have a similar effect to like Hysteric Party, but just activated straight out when it's summoned. Like, that might be pretty cool.
So,
yeah,
as someone
and
who's...
oh, sorry.
Ooh, all the passions. Let's hear it, both of you out.
I'm sorry. I was just going to mention how there was the recent poll, and they had Harpies on the list of community archetypes that you could vote to support. And so I was thinking it's not too unlikely that they actually do get a Link monster in the near future.
So, what I was going to say is I've recently was playing around with Harpies, trying something new. And when you're looking at their core cards that they currently have, spoiler alert, Harpies have a spell speed 2 cold wave for monster effects that only cold waves your opponent's monster effects. To put that into perspective, if your opponent has negation on the board, when you go for a Harpy play, you can activate this trap from your hand and just do whatever you want, including just disrupting hand traps. They have fantastic cards, but they don't have fantastic plays. And a Link with any decent effect could really push them to a point where they're playable and decent.
And in our number 7 quote-unquote position, again, these are in no particular order, we have Firefist, a deck that really, like, out the gate got limited with what it could do, because then it, like, Horse Prince or, like, something out of the deck got, like, instantly limited to where you couldn't spam out like we wanted to in the TCG. Was it Rooster or Horse Prince?
I thought it was Wolfbark.
Wolfbark had its time.
It was Fire Prince, or it was the level 3.
Yeah,
Feral
so, like...
Prince?
So, like, Firefist here, like, they really do have an amazing, perhaps, summoning mechanic within them, but also the ability to control the board. You have back row poppers, you have additional normals, and so many mechanics are just almost there within the game for them to get there, and they got choked out. Ironically, water beats fire. Mermails kind of, like, beat them out of the meta real fast, but in my opinion, Firefist are that stable, like, kind of back-and-forth control deck that Yu-Gi-Oh's just missing right now. So I'd like to see a Link monster that perhaps limits what your opponent can do during their turn. I'm not a huge proponent of Floodgates, but I feel like that's kind of what Firefist are missing. The ability to try to control your opponent during their turn, while also perhaps giving you some kind of, like, Tenki from deck or something. There's your double effect, a Floodgate effect with a search effect. And that's something we haven't really brought up during this list. In the number 6 position, Ancient Gears. Something that got a whole structure deck to it. And kind of just flopped. It really had its hype moments, and it was just almost there. Just almost. There's so many cool things between this and Dragonic Diagram. And Ancient Gears just... the Dr. Crowler, where are you at? That's all I've got to say is, like, they need something specifically that just really is solid. Like, I don't know what to create for them if any of you guys do, but, like, they're already summoning huge bodies to board for relatively free, so maybe something that just adds to the consistency of being able to get those cards. Perhaps.
I know what they need.
What do they need?
They need 3 things, basically. The first thing they need is the ability to basically bypass their whole lockdown for setting spell and traps, or just simply having more cards that play very similar to the way of, you know how the Dino Mists play their continue spells from the deck instantaneously? They need to be able to do that, but with better cards that have, like, castle-style effects and Gear Town-style effects. I want to say that they deserve the ability to go, all right, well, my castle on board destroys a card I control and then generates 2 tokens. The tokens have like an effect when they leave the board. Another thing they could totally make use of is a contact fusion. We may have Ancient Gear Fusion to be able to use their stuff, but I feel like they could totally instantaneously just go, hey, I'm going to take this Wyvern, and I'm going to take one of these new guys, and I'm going to totally just tag them out for something. We already have, I would say, Hound to do that with. But I'm thinking of something.
So
that's
a Link
like,
monster, that gives you the ability to quick play fuse.
Yes,
that's kind of cool. And what's your last point?
Oh, and the last one, they need backup, because the big thing that I noticed about them is that while they may have this insanely potent offensive capability when they swing directly, right? What happens when they're kaiju'd, board wiped, or simply unicorn get rid of the one card that's important against them?
By the way, first off, you're in a YouTube video, so you know. Second off, this is Mystic V, by the way, another tuber. So third tuber coming out of the blue, not DZ, swearsies, but good comparison. He's a really good tuber. He was on like my top 10 tubers you should check out once the demonetization thing happens. I'll have his link in the description down below. But in our next slot, we do have Frightperson, which we're still mentioning Patchwork. Definitely fan favorite deck, and was almost there altogether until Master Rule 4. It kept bubbling regional after regional. You'd see 17th place, 16th place. You'd see Sam Cox almost make it there. You'd see DZ rant and rave about this deck, and just like, I feel like no other deck in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has this one been screwed over to the point where the fans just want a little extra something. So if you were to release a pack that not only had Patchwork, but a Link monster that really worked with them and continue to help what they already do, because they do it well. Help them OTK. Like, maybe get you a fusion card from deck, maybe get you an etch. Just what the deck already does, help it do it more consistently. That's what I'd personally like to see for it. Let me know in the comment section down below what you'd like to see, though, if you are an avid fan of it, because maybe I'm a little too shallow there. In the number 4 position, that's the wrong button. We got DDDs. Actually, a deck that I just played on stream and went 3-0 with. Omega lol. But DDDs are the deck that had 3 weeks of prominence before they just faded out a little bit. And I'd really like to see something for them that brings them back in. They fusion, they synchro, they Xyz, they do it all. And so they really need those extra spaces, and it's probably something that gives them a little more advantage in the modern day. It's kind of that whole package deck, and it's got the search ability, it's got so much going for it, except how much you need to be able to summon monsters from the extra deck within that deck while providing resources. So maybe something like was just mentioned earlier, something that summons token to help you further link summon or fusion summon. Like they have a DD name on the tokens so that you can fusion summon with them. That would be pretty cool. In the number 3 position, one of the most solid decks in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! An easier entry to use, I'd like to see a Satellar Knight, and actually Dinnerflax has some ideas on this, with it also being a Constellar at the same time. Take it away, Dinnerflax.
Alright, so I actually came up with this idea a while ago, but it's just like, it was for fun. But in the Tellar Knight archetype, there are a few cards in it. Well, I think one that is also a Constellar, because nerd lore out of the way, the Constellars and the Tellar Knights are like the same bloodline. They're like the same deck, just different name. So in theory, what you could do is you could make a card, a link monster called Constellar Knight whatever. And what it does is it can do whatever it is. But on the field, Tellar Knights are also treated as Constellars, and Constellars are also treated as Tellar Knights. Maybe not just on the field, maybe in the graveyard and hand as well, because both these decks have a common flaw in them, in the fact that they're really, really linear. They lack any form of diverse plays. They don't have any branches to go through. It's try to summon Trevere, or try to summon Pallades, or make NXC, but devote your hand to it. But if you were to combine these decks, and if you were to allow it to
have that access from the extra deck, where no matter what deck you're playing, like, your monster should be able to get you there through both decks.
Yeah, so let's say you Altair back, if the Link monster allows it, Altair back a Constellar Cause. Instead of going for a Trevere play that locks you out for the rest of the turn, maybe you're like, let's go for Pallades. Or, even better, let's go for Pallades because I have an alpha set and I can use that Pallades with it.
Ooh, that's pretty cool thinking.
Yeah.
So it fits kind of with the linear playstyle that's good for beginners, but also offers a higher ceiling to the deck by mixing the cards.
Exactly.
Alright, and in our number, I know there's 3 decks left now, so on our true number 3, we've got Necross, and rest in peace, my boy Shirt. Please come back one day, you're somewhere in the comment section. Shirt is a card that was great for the deck, and probably by itself would fix a lot of what Necross is missing, but a Link monster for a ritual deck, not something that's unheard of, as a lot of Vindred players are hoping for that for their deck. I think it would be pretty cool, because you have the ability in that deck to go, like, Trishula into the fortress that allows you to kind of use another Trishula-like effect. I think it would be very interesting to see what routes Necross end up taking if they're able to have lines where they're able to have a Link monster, perhaps for a cost that isn't too bad. Like, maybe one Necross monster and any other monster. Kind of how, like, the Mech Knight monster was created, right? You just need one in-archetype monster, so that you're able to summon it with, like, a Manju that you've summoned, right? And then allow you the ability to maybe get something from deck and then also do something to your opponent. Like, and then you have those open zones to continue play with the rest of your resources, as a lot of the normal, like, well, not normal, effect monsters, non-ritual Necross monsters, allow you to have additional advantage effects, maybe allow you to special something from hand, so that your Link marker is now accessible. And this is all, in my opinion, dependent on us getting Shirt back, similar to the OCG, as Brains Pack 2, let's face it, is going to be an OCG archetype. In the second position, not the deck I'm the biggest fan of, but a lot of you guys are, Dark Worlds. Go ahead and take it away. Whoever said to let them take it away.
I can do it.
Go ahead.
So, every single fan-made Dark World card says, any card effect that discards from your hand is treated as being discarded by your opponent. Now, personally, I think that's not
a little
good
too
idea.
much. Too much.
Yeah. However, maybe doing something like that once per turn, or something a lot more watered down.
I had the idea that any card sent from your deck to the graveyard the turn this card is Link summoned is considered sent from the hand as well.
Or discarded from the hand.
No. Just like, if it's sent from the deck, it's considered discarded from the hand.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, their effects will trigger as if they're discarded from your hand by your own effect if they are milled or put in the graveyard in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I think that would be pretty cool.
It would be pretty cool. But Dark World is... I don't know if I would say it's a fan favorite, but it's a deck people always go back to every now and then because it's fairly linear, but it's also very unique, as in it can play a lot of floodgates. Like, it's a very good just like rogue deck to always have around, and maybe supporting it might help it a little.
And now a true fan favorite in the number 1 position. All right, let's give this the number 1. Got really watered down support in the newest legendary duelist. Blue Eyes White Dragon, the deck just so almost there. You have so much going for it. One of the best ritual monsters in the entire game, dealing double piercing and self-protection. Monsters that summon themselves from hand, and it's just not there. You have the ability to really get those monsters out on board too. So instead of something like making your synchro monster, maybe making something that just takes one Blue Eyes monster period along with that other monster, letting it special out, and maybe resourcing your deck along with, let's face it, it's going to need multiple paragraphs, along with maybe special summoning a Blue Eyes out of deck on top of it, giving you that extra push to help the deck do what it already does but misses the point barely. This deck almost OTKs so consistently, but then leaves just a little bit of life, a sliver of life, 1200, 1800. I don't know how many times I've been left at that life point range with Blue Eyes having their boards, but it's really often. Being able to maybe choke out that extra life, resource your deck, and do something else, that'd be really nice in my opinion. Any of you guys know what you would like to have with Blue Eyes?
Something that would benefit high-level dragons, I think, would be great.
Weird.
Because you got, like,
whoa.
Blue Eyes is a huge, big 8-star dragon. You support dragons that are higher or equal to level 8, and it becomes a huge, interesting sort of archetype.
So you're thinking give it more that generic-ish, high-level dragon support than specific, kind of like what Brains Pack does.
Yeah, I think that links that benefit both the deck and the sort of generic aspect to it, but probably benefits the archetype itself just a bit more.
Okay, so guys, we're going to wrap this up here, but as you see in the chat, there's plenty of other archetypes. Dark Magician, Red Eyes, so many other decks that you guys might have wanted to see in this list. Give the video a thumbs up if you just enjoyed the conversation, and do put down below what you would personally like to see in link form. I know we can't hit all of the types that we'd want to see hit or you'd want to see hit in a 20 card list, and usually I do top 10, so we expanded this to 20. I'll also put GCD, Mystic V, and Master Dinnerflax link down below, first thing in the description. So if you want to check out any of their channels, GCD, an amazing replay tuber, Mystic V, on point discussions, and Master Dinnerflax, the quality content that you deserve.
Don't forget Selza.
Belza. Oh yeah, Belza had a pointer. No, Belza's a resident bum. He's up $45 on me lifetime. No link for him. But again, thanks for joining. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And what phrase should we steal from a YouTuber? We'll see you next time.